passion. It's all on you now. And just give me some reaction. Just wanna go. I like the way you move. Really.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Rubbing Minds on Channels Television, the 18th day in the month of January 2015. I'm Bemileke Oscar Onyisa, and of course, I don't need to tell you, it's a brand new year. And on the lips of everybody is not necessarily New Year's resolution, but voters this, voters that, permanent versus temporary. The elections, Buhari versus Goodluck, APC versus PDP. Everything seems to be a confrontation this time of the year, but it's all good. We're going to brush through a number of the topics that have been making rounds on whyniger.com. And of course, we're going to have some social commentators in the studio who will be helping to analyze and basically strip off all the meat as we get to the bone of the matter at hand. It's great to have you again once again. And don't forget to join the conversation, hashtag Rubbing Minds, or you can visit www.whyniger.com/Rubbing Minds. Now, today, opening up the show, we have a very prolific social commentator. He's very vocal. He's been doing this quite a while. I will not bore you with his details, but we're going to be talking about some of the news that made round this last week. In addition to that, we have the Ajegunle ICT Lab project. What's that about? Stick around and find out. And of course, we'll be talking about the countdown, the road to 2015 elections. What do you need to know? Have you picked up your voter's card? On Instagram, I read a comment from a friend that said one voter's card is more important and more valuable than 300,000 tweets or whatever. So it's all about the voter's card. So please, please track down yours. I've been able to track mine, which will be picked up hopefully this week. But if you haven't gotten yours, please do not give up and track down your voter's card. I would like to welcome on the show this morning, Joachim Mark Ebong, a social commentator. How are you doing?
Fine.
You're good?
Thank you, yeah.
Great to have you on Rubbing Minds, and Happy New Year, being that this is the first time I'm seeing you.
Yeah,
so great to have you. Now, so much to talk about, so little time. We have the most recent one, which is the Armed Forces Remembrance Day. We also have GEJ Buhari signing the peace agreement in Abuja. Yeah. So let's take the two together.
Yes, the peace agreement is very important because both sides are very passionate supporters, particularly these days now that it's just the two major candidates. So the polarization is increased, kind of. So you need, the supporters need to see their leaders, the people they go all out for, signing an accord that election violence is something that they don't condone. Most of the time, it's not even sanctioned by either of the candidates, but people get so passionate and they begin to do things that go beyond what is mere campaigning. And so the necessity is for people to see that at the end of the day, it's not, as Obasanjo said, a do or die affair.
But are we the type of nation that actually honors agreements? Are we the type of nation that, because they've signed the peace agreement, does that mean there will be peace?
Well, first of all, from a symbolic point of view, it's very important for people to see the pictures of them, hugging, embracing, and
Yeah, we've seen a lot of that.
So it's just a very light atmosphere. It's symbolic because people need to understand, like I said, you don't do anything outside what is lawful. Many times these things don't come from them; they come from people in the middle, supporters, everybody just basically running amok. There were incidents in Rivers State, in Plateau State, in Gombe State, so people need to realize that you should just campaign for your candidate and move on, and let's not cross over into violence.
And talking about Plateau State, the presidential aspirant as Muhammadu Buhari recently was in Plateau, and the crowd was breathtaking. It was enormous. There seems to be a lot of love and pull towards him, and a lot of support for him. Do you think this will help him win the race?
Well, again, the size of crowds doesn't always determine success in an election.
What does?
But obviously, getting out to vote, you have to go out to vote. You have to have the necessary tools. Your permanent voter's card, for example. So, getting people out to the polls and getting them to have their votes count and follow up the process. Is what converts those crowds into actual
votes.
Into actual votes.
Now, on one side, we have Buhari in Plateau State. On the other side, we have Goodluck Ebele Jonathan.
Yeah.
He visited Borno.
Yes.
Some might say that it's real medicine after death, being that Borno is a site that he should have visited during the time of the attack.
Yes, yes.
Some are insinuating that maybe because it's time for elections, now he is basically hitting all the states, as many as he can get. Is this wrong timing? Is it a coincidence, or what's your take on this?
It's a very divisive kind of thing he did. But first of all, you have to look at it purely. It's a cold calculation. You have the candidates addressing their weak points first and foremost. So you have Buhari starting his campaign in Port Harcourt, going all the way from the south to the southeast to the southwest. Now he's in the north central. He has left there now. He's going to the northwest this week. So he addressed his weak points first of all. Jonathan is doing the same thing by going to places like Maiduguri and doing what he should have done a few months ago, maybe even a year ago, and maybe even more than months. Because we remember that that when there was this debate about why he hasn't gone there to see the troops, we're talking about we're told by the presidency that it's an issue of security and things
But
like that.
there's still insecurity. There's still killing. There's still bombing.
In fact,
it's even more rampant.
The issue there right now is even worse than what it was before.
Exactly.
Boko Haram is now more capable. They are more powerful. They are now holding territory. But he has decided to go now. So with 29 days, which was only left, it's something that really made a lot of people extremely cynical. It has won him some support, gotten him some good press, but there's an equal amount of simply negative feeling and thinking, why wait now? Why wait till now?
Well, we'll have to wait and see how that comes February 14th when we're going to kick off. But let's take a look at the, briefly, Armed Forces Remembrance Day, remembering the soldiers. I remember on radio a lot of people tuning in, a lot of people calling in, a lot of messages going out to the troops, and a lot of sympathy towards the troops who, and with this recent execution and everything going on, there's just a lot of attention around them. And the general message is that these guys can do the job, but they've not been equipped enough to do the job. And they're dying in their thousands. Taking this remembrance as a point, what would be your take on the issue of how the soldiers have been treated?
Now, funny enough, on Monday, the U.S. ambassador came to this very station and said certain things, for example, about why the training for a particular battalion from that the U.S. was supposed to provide trainers, and then the Nigerian side was supposed to provide equipment for them to train, and it broke down because we didn't do our own parts. So you have those issues. Then you have the issue of the CNN report that came out saying, that the soldiers don't get what they're supposed to get to go and confront the enemy. They are the ones that are the victims here. They are the ones that are the victims here. And so I think that the Armed Forces Remembrance Day is coming at the correct time, because they need to be our focus.
But is it necessarily about remembering? Let's even put aside those that have gone, those that are with us now.
Exactly.
It seems as if there's really no difference between those that have gone and those that are around. There seems to be no taking care of them.
That needs to change. It needs to change because there are clearly a number of issues that need to be addressed, and they need to be addressed quickly, because while they give their lives for us, in the Northeast, confronting these terrorists, they also need to know that, one, their families will be taken care of, and they will also be given all the tools they need to succeed, because every information that we have been able to get is simply give us the equipment and then we will do the job. But that doesn't happen because, well, clearly they don't have it.
Well, with all kudos to them, remembering the armed forces, the guys have been able to win some battles, but the war needs to be won. The war against Boko Haram needs to be won, and we want to use this medium to salute them and thank them for all they've done so far. Finally, the issue of PVC versus TVC. Now, the permanent voters card, the temporary voters card, the reps move voters to use the TVC, while INEC is insisting that the permanent voters cards must be used. There are even rumors that the date might be moved due to the fact that logistically they're just not there yet. What's your take? Should we make sure that everybody has their voters card? The dissemination and the distribution has not really been key. They've moved from the local government to the wards, and then now, I, for example, had to go to Etiosa local government only to find out that they haven't gotten there. As I said, it's still at the INEC headquarters on the way to Chevron. So I need to go there physically to now track it down, but I might be fortunate. What about those that don't have access to this information?
Now, what do we know? Let's get what we know. First of all, people who have taken their PVCs have said that there are a lot of unclaimed PVCs. So we know that there are lots of unclaimed PVCs. Secondly, some people who wanted to try down their PVCs have checked their voter status on the INEC website and have found out that they are not in the system. Now, this is because, according to reports, some of the data has been lost because it wasn't stored. Okay? So you have people who have been duly registered as voters, but their records are not in the system, and hence their PVCs are not available. So there are those people to take care of. Then there is the continuing voters registration that broke down because people who wanted to register could not register to vote.
Yeah, polling stations.
So you have those people who were registered in 2011 but are not in the system. You have people who want to register to vote but can't. Then you have people who have not claimed their PVCs. There is a lot of improvements to be done on all three areas, and so the idea of giving PVC collection down to ward level is very helpful because it helps people to be closer, to be nearer to their cards and then to get theirs. But people also need to be sent the message that they need to collect their PVCs. And at the same time, the reps talking about use of TVCs is to help people who are not in the system.
Okay, but have proof.
But have proof that they've been registered in 2011. That is a significant number of people, particularly in places like Lagos, for example. So they have a point, but INEC also has not been able to cross all the I's and dot all the T's, which is why that motion was moved by the House of Representatives last week.
But it's the failure of INEC that has led to this decision, more or less.
Well, failure, but the failure is conditioned on the fact that their budget has not been completely passed yet. They don't have all the money they need to prosecute this election, and so it's a problem. So they have they gave the FG a budget. I think they approved what's looking like 30% of the budget or so. They're still expecting the rest of it.
And they still need more.
And of course they need to, yeah, of course they do. So they need to do that because they need to pay ad hoc staff. They need to pay for transportation and all those and all the logistics that they need to do. So all those things are issues. And we have how many days? 26?
Well, less than
27.
It's counting down. Thank you very much, Joachim Akebonk.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. Still Rubbing Minds on Channels Television. We'll be back after the break. Road to 2015 election is what we'll be taking a look at. And of course, do not forget that we have the Ajegunle ICT Lab project also on the way. We'll be right back after this break.